Guys, it's Kane. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have another amazing individual and someone who's been a personal friend of mine since I started college. He is the former leader of the Weather Underground political organization started in the 1960s. He was a college professor. He's a very active political activist still. He is Bill Ayers. Thanks for coming on, Bill.
Thank you so much, Caden. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Likewise, I think a lot of people might remember you if they grew up in the 60s, 70s, or 80s. But for those that may not know you, do you mind telling a bit of your story in your own words?
Well, I've been a political activist since I was 18 years old, and I'm now 81 years old, if you can believe it. So time flies, when you're having fun. I remember my son, when he turned 10, he said those first 10 years went by very quickly. The next 10 are going to take a long time. I said to him at the time, that's true of the first 40. And now I can tell you it's true of the first 80. They go by very quickly. But your introduction is exactly right. I've been a politically engaged public person for decades now. I was very active opposing the war in Vietnam. I was underground for 11 years. I was arrested, I suppose, 12 or 14 times during the Vietnam War in nonviolent acts of resistance. And I've also been very active in the anti-war movements around Iraq, around the bombing of Iran, around Gaza. I am an anti-war person. I am a person who believes in the future of humanity, but I know that that future needs to be fought for. So and I've also been a teacher and an educator for 60 years. So it's a long life, and I'm happy to be here with you now.
I'm happy you're here, and I agree. Life goes by fast. We met each other when I was 18 years old. I'm 21 years old now, so that time has definitely gone by fast, which leads to my next question. Apart from the interactions you've had with me, do you have any other experiences interacting with the autism community that you want to discuss with us?
Well, I actually have. I have when you think about the spectrum, I sometimes think we're all on the spectrum, and that means we're all human and we're all diverse and we're all up and down and all around. We are many things at once, and we're not just one thing. We're many things. So when we talk about the autism community, we also have to remember that we're in the human community, we're in the American community, we're in the 2026 community. There are a lot of ways that we show up as human beings, and we should never reduce our identity to a single inflamed category. We are many things simultaneously. But what I would say right now, I have family members as well as many, many friends who are on the spectrum in one way or another. And I would say that one of the things that's characterizing this age is not only the kind of tendencies toward a police state, which includes kind of endless war and creating crises that then require physical violence to somehow control. But I think it's also an age of deep inhumanity. That is, the labeling of people as disposable, as not worthy. And so you look at some policy decisions, like the attempt to destroy the Department of Education in the federal government. The problem with that is, and even the language that they use to justify it, is that they're saying some people are disposable. And I come from a place in my deepest ethical heart that I believe no people are disposable. And there's no one who should be scapegoated and acted as if they're less important. When I hear J.D. Vance, who's a converted to Catholicism, the vice president of our country, say that there's an order of love. Some people are more worthy of love than other people. I disagree profoundly and fundamentally. We are all human. We're all three-dimensional creatures. We're all making our wobbly ways through a life. And in order to get through that life, we need one another. And we need one another in all of our diversity, all of our weirdness, all of our wonder. and we need to embrace one another and stick up for each other. So to me, the fundamental thing that ought to power us is a love of humanity and a hope for the future.
I agree with that statement profoundly. That's the way the world should be. It's pitiful to see the head of our country right now act not as a human being towards specific groups, but rather as an animal, a drunken animal had that. So I agree. We need more kindness in the world. This isn't a matter of Republican or Democrat, right wing or left wing. It's about kindness and basic human decency, which leads to my next question for you. As a political activist, what's your opinion on RFK Jr.'s reckless comments on the autism community?
You begged the question by saying reckless comments, and I agree. The reckless comments are based on such ignorance and such a kind of narcissistic sense that his own um, opinion is in fact reality, and nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, one of the reasons that I get very nervous about fundamentalism of any kind is it's the end of thought. You don't have to ask questions. You don't have to be curious. You don't have to try to understand if you know everything. And that's what dogma is. That's what orthodoxy is. And frankly, most organized religions are, they have the answers. And if you have the answers, you're not seeking the answers. So Robert Kennedy Jr. would do well to ask people about their own lives and try to understand their perspective. Everything isn't from your perspective. And I've always admired, and I learned this from one of my young friends who was diagnosed on the spectrum, and he always had a t-shirt. He gave me a t-shirt actually that said, "Nothing about us without us." That's a terrific slogan for people who are fighting for their own place in the human family. So, on the one hand, the comments about autism. On the other hand, the very vicious attack on transgendered people. I mean, who are you to say that another human being doesn't have a right to be the human being that they ought to be? I often say to my classes, I give them writing prompts, and one that I often give is every human being has the right to live a life of fullness and dignity. Every human being has that right, agree or disagree. And it's amazing how many people find ways to disagree and to chop humanity up. I want people to understand that every human being has a right to a full life, as full a life as they can manage, and we have every responsibility to support them in that. Now, I'm 81 years old. I never heard the word transgendered until relatively recently, but it didn't cause me any difficulty to say, that's a human being. That's a human being making a choice for themselves. I can embrace that human being. I can be part of that community too. And I feel the same way about Kennedy's, dissecting of which human beings are more valuable and how he knows exactly, what everybody else's situation is. He does not.
Exactly. And I really like that slogan of nothing about us without us, because it's true, not just with neurodiversity, but with any marginalized group, and whether that be in the media or politically, we need more voices from those groups speaking out and getting involved in opinions. And I will add that RFK Jr.'s family has been through disability rights, and the Rosemary Kennedy thing is definitely a notable example. So he has no right to say in those groups when he's been through it himself. Oh, so if anyone should be empathetic towards people's situations, it's him. It's that simple. Which leads to my final question: what do you hope for in society amidst the chaos of our world today?
Well, I've always been accused of being an optimist, which I am not, because an optimist knows what's coming, and I have no idea what's coming. An optimist is kind of blindly faithful in a good outcome. They're very much like a pessimist in that regard, because a pessimist knows what's coming too, and they can sit on their couch and be cynical about it. I don't know what's coming. I know that the future is unknown to everybody, and yet what we do or don't do will make a difference. I believe in hope. as a basic fundamental guiding light for me. And hope is not a roadmap to nirvana. Hope is saying, I can see on the horizon that we could do better. Let's work hard step by step to do better, to be kinder, to be gentler, to be more inclusive, to be more loving. Let's search for joy and justice. But the search is what we're about. It's not the end game. It's step by step, each of us doing our part as best we can and reaching out and embracing others with, with the hope that we can build a future fit for all.
Exactly. I'll admit, I'm a bit guilty of being an optimist, but in spite of everything happening in our world today, I honestly believe that we're still capable of being good human beings. We just have to find it in ourselves. A bit of a story for you. In my sophomore year of college, I noticed a black student getting harassed by someone for something stupid. So I went up and told him off of student harassing the other student and practically saved his life. Because if I wasn't there at that moment when I was leaving from a tutoring session, and things could have gone so much more horribly. And he said something that resonates with me still. We're all human beings. We all have the same goal. We have a goal of either living a liveful and positive world or doing having one that's negative and dark and gloomy. Which one do you want to be a part
That's,
of? And that's true even today.
that's beautiful.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this interview, guys. Thank you so much to Bill for coming on and sharing his perspectives. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest channel. Be on the lookout for our next issue that's coming out in February. You can get that by going to autismdigest.com. And be on the lookout for the audio file to be posted on our Spotify. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.